All right, some big breaking Saints news. They have a new coach, Sharif Ishak, here live to report the news that just dropped 2 minutes ago.
They go with the front-runner defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen. He was in-house. You know, he started his career with Sean Payton back in 2006. The defensive coordinator has done a very good job since taking over as the DC back in 2015. Took over for Rob Ryan. Wasn't a good situation whenever Dennis Allen took over the defensive side of the ball. But it is Dennis Allen. He is becoming the next Saints head coach. I think it's a pretty good move, you know. It's continuity. You want to make sure you have someone in place that knows what Sean Payton is doing, and Sean Payton did. So carrying over Dennis Allen, I think, is a smart move. The players loved it. A lot of the players backed him during a lot of the Twitter, a lot of the Zooms, and you talk to him. Even some of the former players said, hey, go with Dennis Allen. We like Dennis Allen.
He's been with them a long time. He was kind of the leader in the clubhouse. They interviewed some people inside the organization and outside. Is it a good defense, and is it the fact that he's had some head coaching experience, if you can talk about that? His go with the Raiders wasn't great, but it does give him that experience of running a team.
His go with the Raiders obviously wasn't great. It was 8-28, didn't have the greatest quarterbacks. Now it's going to have to solve that problem. Right. The offensive side of the ball, who's going to be quarterback? How does the Alvin Kamara situation shake out? What happens there? Who can they bring in as the quarterback is going to be the big question. But defense, do you really want to get rid of a guy whose defense has improved a ton, especially in the last 5 seasons? They're a top 5 defense. You want to continue to do that because remember, Travers, before he got here, how bad the defense was, and it took them a long time to build that. But now they have a familiar face in place. He's in the house, and they make, I think, they make a pretty good move. They had a lot of good candidates in Brian Flores, Eric Bieniemy, Aaron Glenn, Darren Rizzi. They went through a lot of people, including Doug Peterson, and that's who they landed on in Dennis Allen, a very familiar guy.
And let me ask you a crazy question here. Aaron Glenn, I think, was probably the runner-up choice. We'll never know. With Dennis Allen, the head coach, could they grab Glenn and bring him back as the defensive coordinator for the Saints team now, since Dennis Allen's going to be the head coach?
That's an interesting move. I think that Aaron Glenn wants to continue with the Detroit Lions because I think he wants to eventually be a head coach. I mean, they still got Chris Richard. He still hasn't gotten a job yet. He was a defensive backs coach, and maybe they elevate him. Maybe they elevate Ryan Nielsen, who was the associate head coach. The thing I'm really worried about is with Dennis Allen. Not worried about him, just what are they going to do on the offensive side of the ball with Dennis Allen? Because Sean Payton was a genius. He was a mastermind on the offensive side of things. Do they stay with Pete Carmichael? Do they make a move? Do they try to grab another offensive coordinator? Who's Dennis Allen going to snag to make sure that offense, you know, continues ascending?
And look, let's talk about this. It seems like continuity is the key here with Gail Benson, Dennis Schlauscher, Mickey Loomis, Greg Bensel. A lot of these executives, there's Dennis Allen on your video, some video of Dennis Allen on your screen right now, but it seems like they went with somebody who not only did they have familiarity with, but they feel like it's culture. And I think when you go with Dennis Allen, if you could talk about this, you're going with a guy who's just going to grab the baton from Sean Payton and run with it.
Right. 2006. It took them quite a few years to build that winning culture. He was part of that winning culture, and he knows how to sustain the winning culture. They went from 6, got all the way to the Super Bowl championship exactly 12 years ago.
12 years ago today.
12 years ago today, and they hired their next head coach to replace Sean Payton. That's the thing. You want to keep the winning culture going. It's hard to go maybe for them outside of the building and see what's going to happen. The unknown may have maybe deterred them away from going from somebody else not named Dennis Allen. It's that winning culture that really probably made them stick with Dennis Allen. He's done a good job as a defensive coordinator. I know people are going to say, well, he failed as the Raiders head coach.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago, you know. And his quarterbacks, look at the quarterbacks. Like Terrell Pryor might have been one of his quarterbacks when he went 8-28. But he is your next head coach on the anniversary of Super Bowl 44.
And really quickly, Texas A&M grad, played at Texas A&M, longtime coach, Texas guy, lives on the North Shore. People are going to get to know him because y'all are going to do a lot of coverage here. I know you've got the chance to meet him. Seems like he has good head coach material and a good personality on that.
Yes, and knows every single person's name in the media. He knows how to carry himself well. He is a fiery guy. He may look quiet, but he gets pumped up. You saw what he did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and beating Tom Brady 9-0. By the way, 4-1 against Tom Brady when he was here with the Tampa. That is very impressive. If you could do that, I mean, I don't know why not, give him a chance to be the head coach and see what happens and see how far they can go with this. And I think, give it time. I think they're going to be pretty good. They got a really good defense. Defense wins championships.
All right. Sharif Ishak, much more coming up at 6 o'clock.